You're right. I see the trash can over here. You're seeing the first look with us of the foliage underneath this thing. Wow, look up in there. How much crap is on top of the skid plate. Dude, wow. So you guys may have seen when we built this. I know it's in a prior video. Man, it bent those up. Whoa. This was down here level with this. Shoot. So we built this skid pan, or this skid plate for KD Dragway. And we've always just decided to leave it on there. Had this skid plate not been on this car, my oil pan would be murdered right now.
Another KD oil pan.
Yeah, another KD oil pan. Now, the oil pan looks good. I can't believe it's not like, pop canned a little bit. It looks great. That's unbelievable. Man. Now, these fins have been drug flat on this trans pan for years. So, let me get, I don't know where that drop light is. I'll just use my phone light. So I was worried that the threads got pulled out of the ladder bars, but all the jam nuts are still tight. Except for that one, but I'm sure it probably just came loose. I'll still probably take that deal apart. Make sure it didn't rip the threads out of that deal. Jam nuts are tight. Jam nuts are tight. Jam nuts are tight. Everything actually looks decent right now. I mean, there's some measuring to be done. As you can see, oh man, I have to get the trans jack over here and jack that deal up and get that off there. Like I said, it sheared the bolts off of this deal. Man, I hope this thing ain't junk. It's probably okay, but that's a little stiff. It might have got hit. I really don't want to have to replace that deal, but it is what it is. If you look, these here got bent, like they got bent down. They're not the way they were. They were much straighter up. Now they're bent a little bit. I don't see any, look in there, a pile of crap. I don't see any serious damage. One of these fuel lines got a little pinched, but it looks like it came back out. Well, yeah, we're gonna have to put a new fuel line on it right here. See how it's pinched right there?
Yeah.
I'll just run over to Parker and get a new bit of line. Bunch of crap up in here. Get it straightened back up, and then all this broke, obviously. So that snapped. So I'll have to bend that back straight, weld that back on when we get a new radiator. But all in all, so far, not too bad. I mean, there's a lot of inspecting to do, but as of right this second, not too bad. Dirty is all get out, but not too hateful. Man, I'm telling you, that's a lifesaver right there. I'm never taking that thing off again. I'm gonna take it off to clean it, but it's going right back on. Oh yeah, I forgot about this. Wastegate pipe got smashed flat. But didn't none of them welds break on that high side?
Shoo.
That's what back purging does for you. Everything else looks pretty decent. Absolutely.
We need to invest in some mud tires.
Some paddle tires. We're not gonna drag race on asphalt and concrete anymore. We're gonna go mud dragging. We're gonna put some freaking paddle tires on this deal. And
Now we're talking.
everything else looks pretty good, man.
It does.
But God, there's rocks jammed up in the. That was good. That was cute. Wow. Crazy. I hook all this stuff back up where it got pushed out from the weight we had sitting in the quarters. The weight we had sitting in the quarters drove forward and pulled this apart. I got to re-fiberglass the tub to the inside of the quarter. All this got pulled down. Man. Freaking wild, man. There's probably mud on top of this deal. Oh, yeah. Mud and dirt on top of that. Nuts. Well, you've seen it first. You're seeing it at the same time we see it. This is wild. Absolutely wild. Look, dude, there's mud inside the wishbone, and good grief. Nuts. Just completely nuts.
I'm pretty corny.
Bunch of crap, and dude, there's just crap. There you go, guys. So you're seeing it Sunday night. I just crashed this thing 2 days ago, and here we are. So I'll have to get some new fuel line on the way. Unfortunately, 'cause it got pinched. I don't want to even flirt with that disaster. So unfortunately, I gotta get some new fuel lines on the way. I have to pull these out and measure them and see what we got. Just inspect the whole thing. I gotta get a drop light up underneath here and really look at everything that went on and make sure everything is okay before we put this thing back on the street. I hate that this fuel line took a pinch like that or took a beating, but it's a testament to the PTFE stuff. That if it gets pinched or beat up, it ain't gonna spray on you. You know what I mean? It won't come apart. That stuff's tough stuff. That stuff is tough stuff. So we're gonna get to work cleaning on this thing and go along with us this week as we really check this thing out and see how bad it is. So we'll see you shortly. So we'll start from the back and work our way to the front, since the back's what took the brute force of it. So the plan is to take the drive shaft out, I'm gonna take the shocks off, check the shocks, check each click of the, well, maybe not each click. I'll do about 2 clicks on the shocks and make sure they feel the same. I really should send them back to Viking, but that might take too long. So as long as they feel fairly normal testing them next to each other, I'll be okay with that. I'm gonna check those. And then what I'm gonna do is, after I take the shocks off, take the inner roll bar off, I'm gonna take these lower bolts out, swing the rear end back, check the bolt holes, check the bolts, check the threads on the adjuster, which like I said, the jam nuts are still tight, so there shouldn't be any threads moving. Bless you.
Thanks.
There shouldn't be any threads moved there, but I'm gonna check all the holes for being oblong or anything like that. Once I check the uppers and lowers here, I'll take the wishbone out, I'll check everything on it, and then once all that's done, I'll drop the front ones off, check the front heim joints, make sure they're still in good shape. Pretty much check everything back here and then put it back together. Then we're gonna have to get it on the scales for sure. That'll show us more of what's twisted than anything else. If the car is actually sitting to one side or the other, the scales will actually show me where it's at. It'll show me if it's actually pushing harder here, causing it to roll that way, or if it's actually not pushing as hard here and it's low and it's drooped down in the front or something, if that front strut and shock or strut spring is messed up. But we're going to take that apart too. So once the rear's done, I'll come forward. There's nothing really to check in here. Like I said, I'm still a little concerned with the fuel line. Summit is out this fuel line, so I'm going to have to go to our local place and see if they have, which they do, see if they have any in stock. It's going to be a fortune, but whatever. I'll check things on the trans, which I don't know what could have got hurt in that, but I'll just check the belt housing bolts, check all the hoses, make sure they're tight, check and recheck. And then I'm going to want to pull the front struts out for a while, so I'll pull the front struts out. Do the same thing with those I do with the rear shocks. I'll check to see if the clicks are actually working and doing what they're supposed to do. Put everything back together. And then I'll work on getting this steering back mounted. I'll have a radiator on the way tomorrow, and my new rear shock mounts, because they're bent down like you saw. I have some of those on the way tomorrow. Just work from the back to the front. That's all I can really do. Everything looks pretty good, surprisingly. I think our exhaust here got pushed up a little bit because it's what they call cobra necked on the back side of the bend of the exhaust, which means it's been squished. I mean, it doesn't look like it has been, but it had to have been. So, looks like it's been squished a little. Something definitely went in that turbo. It didn't hurt it, but it's almost like a piece of foliage got in there and was spinning around. The wheel didn't hit nothing. It just looks like something got in there and spun around a little bit. So I'll take the front covers off the turbos, check the turbos, check the charge pipes. Check, and recheck. We're going to start in the back because the rear suspension is what takes the majority of force in these race cars. So if your rear suspension ain't right, you're not going to go straight down the racetrack. I don't give a crap what your front end does. So the rear suspension is the absolute most important. And your front end can make you do some wonky stuff too, but if your rear end is screwed up, you're not ever going to go straight on the racetrack. So, anywho's, that's it for tonight. We're going to close up shop, and we'll see you tomorrow night. It's Monday night! Is it Monday?
Monday.
Okay, it's Monday. We're up underneath here doing some investigations. So this isn't, I mean, this is just ladder. I'll show you something. Let me get my thing here. So this is just ladder bars. This is a ladder bar problem. So if you look up in church, if you look up Ventura, see that? Get right up in the thick of it there. Oh, excuse me, that was disgusting. So, these ladder bars are like they're probably like 12 years old. Okay. So they're probably like 12 years old. Now, the Heim joints are not 12 years old, but I've only replaced them once in the last 12 years. So I'm going to replace them again because they're getting a little sloppy. So I'm going to get some Nicens, and replace some Heim joints because the other one's about the same. Well, like I said, this is a ladder bar problem. So all the stress of the entire horsepower of the whole car, of everything that goes on in the rear end, is on two Heim joints. This one, that one. So it's time to replace them again. I replaced them when I did all the. I replaced them back when everyone was off for COVID, because that's when I did all the 25.5 cage and fiberglass and all that stuff. So when COVID hit, that's the same time that I replaced these deals. It's ridiculously sad that we have to base our timeline off of when COVID shut the whole country down, but it seems to be the easiest way to recall a timeline these days. So as you can see, the shocks are off. We're going to check on those. I don't want to blabble too much because we've blabbled enough so far in this deal. So just watch what we do, and I'll show you something if I find anything. This video is not brought to you by Dr. Pepper. This is just what we drink. Yeah, this is Erper.
Delicious.
Delish. Anyhow, so this was the only turbo that was of concern because on the inside of this inlet, see how it looks like it's been sanded on or scrubbed on a little bit there? I was concerned that maybe there was some lettuce in here, some corn lettuce.
Some cream corn.
Some cream corn, you know what I mean? Because, we drove into the corn. Now, granted, by the time I got facing forward into the corn, the power was off and I'm sure the motor was not running anymore. But the turbos, I'm positive, were still spinning. Because that's what turbos do, is spin. And they were still, I was still under power when I went off the road, so I'm sure they were still spinning. I wasn't under power as in my foot wasn't in the throttle. I wasn't doing that. But there were still some ripums of the engine there. So I just want to make sure we didn't cheese grate some corn into this thing here. Everything looks okay. So I'm just going to already clean this one up. As you can tell, there's a little difference between the clean one and the non-clean one. Yeah. So that's what we're doing now. Just checking that. I'm going to work on an alternator situation since everything else is off the front of it here. This broke. So I'm going to have to probably snap it the rest of the way off and then re-weld it back on straight so we can mount our new radiator. So that's the same size that we had before. Little different brand, but same size. So on and so forth, blah, blah, blah. That's where we're at for now. Waiting on some new shock brackets for the rear to finish up the rear of the car. but for the most part, it's pretty much done. I feel comfortable with what's going on back there, so I'm not going to dig too much farther into it. Everything seems to be looking okay. But that's where we're at for now. I'm not going to blab on much more, so we're going to clean some things up, check some things, and if there's anything of importance we feel that you need to see, we're surely going to show it to you. So I'm not sure if this will be the end of the part 1 or the beginning of part 2, but I think this will probably be the end of part 1. So because there's just so much we want to do and take apart and check, we don't want to have a big 35-minute long video, because nobody's going to sit down and watch a 35 or 40-minute video of what we're showing. It'd be different if we were at a race or something like that. So anyhow, for now, that's all for part 1. This will probably be out midweek. Well, I guess today's midweek. It's Tuesday night. So you'll probably see it sometime, maybe Wednesday or early Thursday. And we should have another one out, just kind of finishing up, getting the car running and doing a burnout and some stuff like that, maybe even a little bit of testing with no front end, because who knows how long it's going to take to get one of those. So that's it for part 1. I'm going to get this cover cleaned up and put back on. If anyone was wondering what size turbos these are forced induction. You can see the FIS on the wheel there. These are forced induction S400 chassis, so they're S482s. So I actually forget what the backside is. T4 obviously, because this ain't no big block. 93. So they're 8293s. Yeah, 8293s. So there's some big boys. We got 2,000 plus horsepower worth of turbo here. So I would say these turbos at full tilt would probably tap out, I don't know, 2,300 horsepower probably somewhere. We'll probably never use their full potential, but if anyone was wondering, that's what they are. Little recap, this is a 427-inch motor. It's a dark pro block, dark crank. It's got the Molnar power adder rods. It does have a Wiseco piston in it. It's got Michael OBR1 cylinder heads. Custom camshaft by John Bewley. That's about all there is, nothing real special. So 427 with 182 should make some steam. Anyhow, I'll quit blabbing. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on part 2.